very good afternoon. Today session we're going to see about the physiology of respiration. Okay. Right. What is respiration? As soon as everyone knows what is respiration. Respiration is nothing but breathing. That means breathing in of oxygen and breathing out of your carbon dioxide. Right. So breathing in of oxygen. What's the purpose of breathing in of oxygen? What is going to do? What's actual process is going to be done during the time of respiration? Respiration is a biochemical process where your oxygen is going to be transport between the cells. Okay, because the cells need oxygen for the oxidation process and to release the energy. Okay. So this is done with the help of, already we have seen the structure of cells and the cell organelle, in which the mitochondria, which plays a major role in releasing of ATP, energy for each cell. That's why we call it as a power of the cell. The same mitochondria are going to play a major role in the respiration system also. Mitochondria in the cell obtains the energy by combining oxygen and glucose. Okay, the oxygen will combine with the glucose and it will releases the ATP molecule. ATP molecule cells adenyl triphosphate molecule. The mitochondria releases carbon dioxide, water and ATP as the final product of your oxidation process. So what the diagram which has been clearly mentioned that your glucose molecule, this is going to be a glucose molecule, is going to combine with your oxygen, and what happened? It's going to enter into the cell membrane, and the mitochondria here going to play a major role in this process. And as the result of this, oxidation or process, there are going to be a release of energy, enormous amount of energy, and due to this energy, the side products are carbon dioxide and water has been released, has been produced. Okay, this carbon dioxide and water has to come out from the cell. Okay, as the carbon dioxide should not be stay inside the cell, it has to come out. What happens again? The partial pressure, the pressure makes a major role. That's why we have discussed all this transport mechanism in the last session. Okay, so the partial pressure of carbon dioxide will be more inside the cell than the outside the cell. That's why we call this as the intracellular fluid than the extracellular fluid. So what happened due to the process of diffusion, your carbon dioxide will be coming out from the cell to the extracellular fluid, as well your water too. Okay, then in oxygen also will be going inside the diffusion process, and it will be because of the partial pressure of the oxygen will be more in extracellular fluid than the intracellular fluid. Okay. Right. Next we come to the respiratory tract. The respiratory tract has been divided into two parts. One is going to be a upper respiratory tract and other one is going to be a lower respiratory tract. The upper respiratory tract is going to consist of your nasal cavity. Okay, the nose is going to be nasal cavity, then the pharynx, then the larynx. This up to this is going to be your upper respiratory tract, and the lower respiratory tract is nothing but your trachea. So this is going to be a trachea, and the trachea, the bifurcation of your trachea is called as bronchi. We're going to have two bronchi on each side. Okay, again the bronchi is going to be subdivided into after this the many parts of the bronchi is going to be present inside the lungs. That's what I mentioned it as a lung. Inside the lungs, we're going to have bronchioles. It's going to be called as bronchioles, and these bronchioles is going to end with your alveolar duct. See, this is going to be an alveolar duct, and finally ends in a sac-like structure called as alveoli sac. Okay, then alveolus. Okay. So the upper respiratory tract, as I marked in the diagram, the upper respiratory tract going to have nasal cavity. Nasal cavity in sense nose. We have two openings in our face. One is going to be a mouth as well as a nose. Mouth is meant for food process and nose is meant for respiration. We never respirate through mouth unless otherwise if your nostril cavity has been blocked due to severe cold. Okay, so unless otherwise we won't be respirate through the mouth. Why? Because mouth is going to be always deals with the mastication of the food and with mixing with the saliva and swallowing of the food. A tongue also plays a major role in the mastication. Whereas your nasal cavity, it's even though your nose and the mouth is going to be maybe they're going to get joined, and then we're going to have the same track where again it's going to be divided into two. One is going to be a air passage, and other one going to be our food passage. The pipe through which the food granules will be passing through, it's called as esophagus, and the pipe through which has been your air has to pass through is called as a trachea. Okay, so in the nose itself, the God has been created a lot of hair and mucus membrane mucus layer getting present in the nose. Sometimes if the foreign body of germs or some dust enters into your nose, it should not reach your lungs or the alveoli. So immediately what happened, the cells which has been present in your nose and the hair will filters the maximum dust as well as the germs particle, and see if some germ particles or dust reaches the nose, and it creates a stimulus called a sneezing sensation, and it sneezes out with some mucus, with the mucus which is pushes out all your germs as well as dust, and only the air which is rich in oxygen will be entering into the nasal cavity, and from nasal cavity it goes to larynx and pharynx. Till pharynx, it's common for both food as well as your air passage. Okay, and after that it is going to divide into esophagus. The food particle goes to esophagus and it will reach the stomach. Whereas now we are going to concentrate only on the respiration system itself. We are going to concentrate only in the air passage. So after larynx, your air will be get entered into the trachea. This is a specialized structure which is made up of a cartilage bone to make it rigid, because while respirating your if it is just like esophagus or blood vessels, sometimes it might be constrict. In case if it is constrict, we can't able to respirate. So for that, God has been created a strong and rigid shape for your trachea with help of the cartilage. Okay, this trachea will be bifurcated into two, your left bronchi as well as your right bronchi. Okay, your trachea will be divided into, now we are discussing about the lower respiratory tract. Okay, your trachea will be bifurcated into two, your left bronchi as well as your right bronchi and the left bronchi. Now this bronchi will be again further divided into many branches called as bronchioles. Okay, these bronchioles will be bifurcated into many branches, and from that branch we will go into a tough, just like the structure of grapes. We can see here the structure of grapes. Each and every one is going to be act as the alveoli. Okay, it looks like a grapes. Okay, we are seeing the grapes in the grapes garden. It will looks like that. Okay, so from each and every bronchioles we are going to have alveolar duct. Okay, the other branches which is branching out from your bronchioles will be your alveolar duct, and from that alveolar duct we are going to have a tuft, or we are going to have a group of air sacs called as alveolar sac, and then finally it results in a single air sac called as alveolus. Okay, right, and these alveolus as well as the alveolar sac will be surrounded by many tuft of capillaries and as well as vein. Why? Because where your exchange of gases is going to be takes place. Okay. Your next slide is going to be an alveoli. Okay, alveoli, which plays a major and very important vital role in the lungs. Alveoli is an air sac made up of alveolar cells. Okay, alveoli is made up of special cells called as alveolar cells, and around there are 300 million alveolars are present in each lung. And the area of your surface area of the alveoli is going to be 750 square feet, and the diameter of each and every alveoli is going to be 200 to 500 micrometers. Okay, the alveolar cells are further divided into two types, namely is pneumocyte cells and macrophyte cells. Okay, the pneumocyte cells is again further divided into two type cells, which is called as type 1 pneumocyte cells and type 2 pneumocyte cells. Okay, so these two types of pneumocyte cells will play a major role in the exchange of gases, as well as in the production, as well as in the breathing process. The type 1 pneumocyte cells, it's going to be 95% of the surface area of the alveoli cluster. So the maximum T1 cells are present in our alveoli side, okay, which is made up of a squamous epithelial cells, which we already discussed about the different classification of the tissues and the epithelial tissue as well as epithelial cells. The thin wall helps in the exchange of gases. This type 1 alveolar cell plays a major role in the exchange of gases. And another thing, it won't be divided. That's very important. Your T type 1 pneumocyte cells won't be get multiplied or it cannot be divided, or it cannot be create a new cells. Okay. Type 2 pneumocyte cells. The 5% of your surface area of the alveolar cluster, it's going to be your type 2 pneumocyte cells, where 95% is going to be type 1. It's all these type 2 pneumocyte cells are seen near the blood-air barrier. So blood-air barrier in sense where your exchange of gases is going to be takes place. So that means the blood-air barrier in sense you can imagine where your blood and the alveolar sac is going to be have a contact between these two. That layer is called as a blood-air barrier. Okay, and made up of these type 2 cells are made up of cuboid epithelial cells. Then it releases the pulmonary surfactant to lower the surface tension. This pulmonary surfactant, okay, this is a very important fluid which will be secreted by a T2 pneumocytes to lower the surface tension. Lower the surface tension during the time of respiration, and also preventing it from the alveolar collapsing. Okay, so this pulmonary surfactant will be plays a major role in the infant. Okay, it plays a major role in the infant while the infant starts breathing. Okay, that's a main very important thing in the pulmonary surfactants, which has been secreted by your T2 pneumocyte cells. This prevents the alveolar collapsing, which I have already told. And the main main physiology of this type 2 pneumocyte cells is it's divide and differentiate into type 1 cells. What happens? Especially these type 2 cells plays a major vital role in the differentiation division of type 1 cells. These type 2 cells will be replicated into or divide into type 1 pneumocyte cells. When it will be occur? Now we are in this pandemic region, in the pandemic era. We are suffering from a disease called as coronavirus. Okay, it's causing the respiratory, the final and the last stage is going to be respiratory disease. Okay, what happens like this? Your pneumonia, then asthma, then cancer, lung cancer. What happens at this time? Your type 1 pneumocyte cells will get damaged by these pathogens or by this cancerous cell, and because the type 1 going to plays a major role, vital role in the exchange of gases, where respiration has to be takes place. In case if there is a reduction in your type 1 cells, obviously the patient or the subject will feel difficulty in breathing. So at the time, what happened? Immediately your type 2 pneumocyte cells will divide and differentiate into type 1 pneumocytes. It increases the type 1 pneumocyte cells, whereas the patient will not be undergo a difficulty in breathing. So while these viruses mainly will get attack and it will destroy the type 1 pneumocyte cells. At the time, your type 2 pneumocyte cells will divide itself into a type 1 pneumocyte cells. So you can see the diagram where this is going to be alveolar, where you can see the squamous epithelial cells of the alveolar wall, the squamous epithelial cells will be present here. Then surfactant secreting cells. These are the cells which going to secrete the surfactant. Okay, a pulmonary surfactant, and this is the macrophage. Will come in the next point. Then endothelial cells, nucleus. Okay, then alveolar pores, blood cells. This going here the blood cell, the capillaries, and here is going to be your what I said that blood-air barrier. Okay, exactly the position is going to be. This here is going to be your blood-air barrier. Okay, here. Then the alveoli is going to be alveoli, which is already known, where the air sac or the gas is filled within the sac. The next one is your alveolar macrophage. Alveolar macrophage is a type of a WBC. What it does is it will engulf and digest and digest all the cell debris as well as the germs particles and the foreign particles, microbes, cancer cells. This engulf all the bacteria, viruses, microbes, and it will digest and engulf and it will digest it. It plays an important role in anti-inflammatory. Okay, then it has two types of macrophages. One is M1 macrophage and other one is going to be M2 macrophage. M1 macrophage will be encourage the inflammation. It always gives the enlargement of the cell. Inflammation is an enlargement. Okay. Because due to some infections or due to some viral activity, what happens? It will encourage the inflammation. Whereas M2 macrophage, it's a disease that it decreases the inflammation and supports the tissue repair. It will automatically make any damage. If any damage has happened to the macrophage cells or the alveoli, it supports and repairs the tissue, and it also plays a critical role in hemostasis, host defense, and tissue modeling. Right. Before we go into blood circulation, I'd like to tell I have been right. I have been completed the tracheal tract. Okay. Just a minute. Okay, so from the trachea till the bronchi, bronchioles, alveolar duct, it's completely lined with the mucous membrane. Okay, the mucus is a thick fluid-like structure which has been present even if you have a severe infection in your lungs. It causes severe cough and phlegm will be created and accumulated in your chest region. This phlegm has been produced by the epithelial cells and it is lined by a mucous membrane. This mucous membrane, why God has been created this mucous membrane since it will capture all the dust particles as well as the germs will get stick on to this mucous membrane, and also lined by the ciliated epithelial cells, which will be present in your trachea, and if any particles touches that cilia or the hair-like protections, immediately it will create a severe cough. Right. So while discussing this tracheal tract, here is important a lid-like structure which we call as epiglottis. Okay, I have been explained about the respiratory tract, the bronchi, the branches, and the alveoli, and now I come back to coming back to say the difference between what happens when we going to eat, when we swallow the food particles, and what will happen when you going to inhale the air. Okay. So here we going to have a separate lid-like structure which is called as the epiglottis. This epiglottis plays a major role in while swallowing the food particles. What I mean, even the elders in our house used to tell while we eating, don't talk or don't chat or don't laugh during the time of eating or drinking water. What happens when you're going to talk or when you're going to laugh or when you're going to chat with your friends, without the air passage we can't able to speak or laugh. Okay, so what happened, this air passage with the help of the tongue and movements of the tongue and the voice box, the vocal cords which is present in the voice box, will plays a major role in the speech process. So at the time the air will be moving from in and out from your mouth. So when we are eating a food and at the time we are having chatting with our friends, what happens? There will be a confusion between your respiration as well as the mastication process. Okay. So usually what happens while you are eating without making any chat or without making any laughing with your friends, while you're eating your food, your teeth, your mouth is going to masticate and it's going to swallow the food, and the food will be going in the granules through trachea, through esophagus. At the time your trachea will be closed for a fraction of a second in this epiglottis, where it will prevent the entry of the food particle into the trachea. Okay, this is a normal process taking place while you swallowing the food particles or while drinking your water or any kind of fluids. Okay, so while respirating, what happens? This epiglottis will be open and air will be entering into the trachea for the respiration process. When these two processes has been taking place at the same time, that means your mastication, your swallowing as well as your respiration, inhaling has been taking place in the same process. What happened? There will be some miscommunication and some of the food particle might enter into the trachea. Okay, so some food particles or water particles might be entered into the trachea. So as soon as it enters the trachea, which is the wrong pathway where the water or food particles should not be entered, immediately it creates a reflex which we call as a coughing reflex, and it will pushes out all the food particles as well as the water particle with a forceful cough. Okay, we might be experienced from the childhood till today. We might experience such a, and we might see many of the experience that while drinking water, someone maybe drink while drinking the water due to thirsty. Immediately, what happens if in case it enters the trachea, they will gushes out or pushes out the water with a great force, which will spills on the opposite person also. Okay, so these are things that we have come across all the games, everything we used to enjoy. Okay, but how it is happening? How it is and with while eating a food particle also we get a severe cough. Usually they will in Tamil they will tell that it's a porayeradu. Okay, this is the process where the food particle has entered into your trachea. So which has been created reflex, coughing reflex. Okay, right. And I think this gravity, this is a thin muscle layer which we call as a diaphragm, which plays a major role in the process, in the mechanism of respiration. We will discuss about this while we come across the mechanism of respiration. Okay, and this is going to be your right lung, and this is going to be your left lung, and the space in between these two lungs, which is called as the mediastinum, where your heart has been located. Okay, so because of this location of your heart, which is the mediastinum, your left lung is going, right lung is going to have 3 lobes, whereas your left lung is going to have 2 lobes. We'll see that. Right. Next is blood circulation. Blood circulation in your lung. The lung has dual blood circulation system. One is bronchial circulation and other one is pulmonary circulation. So what is bronchial circulation? So bronchial circulation is nothing but the blood supply which is given by the bronchial artery to the alveolar sac. The supply the oxygenated blood to the airway by a bronchial artery. The two arteries supplies to two bronchial arteries are supplies to the left lung, and one artery will be supplying to the right lung. You can see the diagram here. Okay, where we have in the branches of the visceral pleural. Okay, this is a bronchial artery. Okay, this is a bronchial artery which going to carry a oxygenated blood. Okay, this is going to give the supply to the alveoli, because alveoli also needs energy. Okay, in simple word, to the lungs. It's going to blood vessel which is going to nourishes your lungs, and this is a branch which is branching out from aorta. Okay, this is a branching out from aorta, which is called as a bronchial artery. Okay, and this is going to be a pulmonary vein, and this is going to be a pulmonary artery, and this is mainly for taking the oxygenated blood and bringing your carbon dioxide. This is the next pulmonary circulation we will discuss it. Okay, the next is going to be a pulmonary circulation. Pulmonary circulation in sense, it's going to take the deoxygenated blood from the heart to the lungs through pulmonary artery, and from the lungs to the heart, which carries the oxygenated blood from the lungs to the heart through pulmonary vein. Okay, while discussing about the heart, we can have a great explanation with that circulation. Just have an idea about pulmonary circulation. So the pulmonary circulation is that which is going to carry the deoxygenated blood from the heart to the lungs for purification or exchange of gases, which again has to be transmitted to the heart for pumping the oxygenated blood to various parts of the body. Okay, then through with the deoxygenated blood from the heart to the lungs through pulmonary artery, and from that oxygen that after taking that exchange of gases has been taking place, and carries the oxygenated blood from the lungs to the heart through pulmonary vein. That's what has been shown here. So from the heart, okay, this is going to be aorta. This is going to be aorta, which is going to pump the oxygenated blood, and it has three branches, where one is going to be our bronchial artery, and other one is going to be cranial artery. It divides because one is going to be bronchial artery. Okay, then this is going to be your inferior, and this is going to be this is going to be inferior, and this is going to be your superior vena cava, which is going to carry all deoxygenated blood from the upper part of the body as well as the lower part of the body to the right atrium, and again it comes back to your right ventricle, and from the right ventricle it goes through this one pulmonary artery, which going to carry the deoxygenated blood, which comes here, which is going to carry the deoxygenated blood, and it comes to the alveoli, to the lungs, and here the exchange of gases takes place. Again your blood will be get rich in oxygen. Okay, and this rich oxygen with oxygenated blood is carrying to the heart, and it will be reaching here, which we call as the pulmonary vein. Okay, this is called as pulmonary vein, where your oxygenated blood will be entering into your left atrium, and from left atrium to left ventricle, and from left ventricle again to the aorta. Okay, again to the aorta, to pumping of the oxygenated blood to the this is going to be a branch of aorta, will be flowing towards the body and pumps the oxygenated blood to each and every part of the. Okay, this is going to be your pulmonary circulation. Next is going to be a nerve supply of your lungs. The respiratory center is located in the medulla oblongata as well as the pons cerebellum. Okay, so the main thing is medulla oblongata. So this is called as the medulla oblongata. This is going to be your medulla oblongata, which further continues as spinal cord. Okay, the extension of medulla oblongata will further continue as a spinal cord, and this is going to be your pons cerebelli, which is called as a nerve bridge between your cerebrum and the cerebellum. It's going to be a nerve bridge between your cerebrum and the medulla oblongata. Okay, so here only we're going to have the respiratory. See, you can see the respiratory parts. Okay, respiratory center in the medulla oblongata as well as in your uh, uh, pons of the brain stem. And lungs are controlled by, usually the lungs are controlled by ANS. ANS in the sense autonomic nervous system. Okay, so autonomic nervous system is the branch of a nervous system. Uh, that autonomic nervous system, where the autonomic nervous system where your autonomic nervous system will further classified into sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. Okay, so your autonomic nervous system, it will divide you into sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. When you're talking about this autonomic nervous system, this nervous system plays a major role and vital role in each and every uh, process in our body, and it's also subdivided into parasympathetic nervous system and sympathetic nervous system. These two systems, the sympathetic as well as the parasympathetic nervous system, will be in opposite in actions. Okay, whereas the sympathetic nervous system will increases all the metabolism, whereas parasympathetics most probably decreases the all the metabolism. For example, this parasympathetic nervous system will increases the heart rate or heartbeat during the time of emergency. When the person is uh, under nervousness or under pathetic condition or in any fear, at the time what happens, immediately your heartbeat will be increasing and pumping the uh, blood. It increases the heartbeat, but it's also very much necessary. Why? Because when you are, for example, when you are going in a forest, if you see a tiger, what immediately we will do? If you won't go to forest, some case for just forest ride. Okay, while we're going, at the time you are seeing an elephant or any wild animals, immediately what happens, in case if that animal chases you, what will be doing? Immediately we start running or immediately we start fighting. Okay, but if the animal is somewhat bigger than you, immediately we will get nervousness and we'll get the fear and we'll start running. So while we are running, we run very fast to escape us from that animal. At the time what happens, your cells needs more energy. So at that time the heartbeat has to increases, and due to this increase in the heartbeat, it pumps the blood fastly to each and every cell, and that cell will utilize the energy and produce the energy for our muscles to run fast. At the same time, the pupillary muscle, which is present in the eye, has to be dilated. It should not be constricted. Okay, it should be dilated. Why? Because while we're running, we have to see the each and every particles and each and every way. We have to get a good care way to run fast. If there is any ups and downs in the way, you have to jump, or if there is any tree in the middle, you have to just move to the left or move to the right. So at that time, your pupil muscle will be dilated. Okay, at the same time, obviously circulation increases, it will be increase your breathing rate also, your lungs. Okay, it will increase your breathing rate. But because if he has to inhale a lot of air which is rich in oxygen, then only this oxygen will be circulated to each and every cell through heart, and each and every cell will utilize this oxygen and releases the energy. And at the same time, when you come to the urinary bladder or intestinal bladder, it will constrict. Okay, it will constrict the urethra as well as the anus muscle, that external sphincter muscles of both urethra as well as your anus. Why? Because during this emergency condition, at the time you should not get urinated, or you should not get the feeling of masturbation, maturation and all. So for that purpose, the sympathetic nervous system is very much important. But at the same time, this sympathetic nervous system, it's not very, it also creates some damage in time of myocardial infarction. Why? Because the heart is under pressure. At the time of myocardial infarction, the heart is under pressure. Because of this blockage in the coronary artery, the heart is working hard to pump the blood. At that time, what happened? Immediately it start stimulate the sympathetic nervous system, which will again increase the heart heart rate. I mean heartbeat. Will increase the heartbeat, and also it also during the circulation of the blood, sweating also increases. These are the symptoms. Usually the doctors used to say in time of myocardial infarction. So this is what about the sympathetic nervous system. The action what I mean explain now for the sympathetic nervous system will be quite opposite to parasympathetic nervous system. So the parasympathetic nervous system will be also called as a relaxed position, where a person is sitting and relaxing himself. You are you're going to have a normal heartbeat, normal respiration rate. Okay, your sphincter muscles are open. If it is urinary bladder is full, if you get the micturition reflex, we can urinate. We can go for this thing urination. Okay, then your pupillary muscle will be in the normal position. So quite opposite what the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system is going to take place. Okay, and just. This is what this is a brief introduction about the sympathetic and parasympathetic autonomic nervous system. Why? Because without knowing this, you might can't be able to understand that autonomic nervous system. The lungs are controlled by the autonomic nervous system. Both is get a sympathetic nervous system as well as parasympathetic. Each and every organ has been connected with your sympathetic nervous system as well to the parasympathetic nervous system. As the other organ, lungs also has been connected to a sympathetic nervous system, which derived from the upper thoracic and cranial ganglia. Okay, it will be derived from the upper thoracic and cranial ganglia here. Okay, this is the upper thoracic, okay, and the cranial ganglia, which releases the norepinephrine, which helps in the bronchodilation, which releases an enzyme called as the norepinephrine. This norepinephrine is also released by your adrenal gland during the time of emergency. Okay. Likewise, your sympathetic nervous system also helps in release of your norepinephrine for the bronchodilation. Okay, what is the bronchodilation? During the time of asthma or during the time of severe cold, what happens? Your trachea will get constricted. Okay, especially in asthma. At the time, we used to have a puff. Immediately, what if there is a constriction in your trachea, the reflex will be your severe cough, because your lungs have the difficulty in breathing. At the time, what happened? It strained in itself to inhale the air. So, with the help of your, we can't able to tell it as a cough also. With a woofing sound, we will inhale the air. That's only you can able to see the person will be feeling very difficult while inhaling the air. So at that time you will be having a one puff or two puff of medicine, which immediately will get respond to this norepinephrine, and it releases the norepinephrine and makes the bronchodilate. It dilates your bronchi as well as the trachea. Okay, so what happens? Immediately your bronchi is going to get dilated, the diameter will be increased, and you're going to have a normal respiration. Next is parasympathetic nervous system. This parasympathetic nervous system derived from the vagus nerve, very important nerve, which is one of the nerve, the 10th cranial. This comes in the 10th cranial nerve. Okay, which is a very important nerve, and it releases the acetylcholine, which helps in the bronchoconstriction. Okay, that's what. If sympathetic is doing one action, the quite opposite action will be done by your parasympathetic also. So if sympathetic is going to do bronchodilation, the parasympathetic will do bronchoconstriction. Okay, that's the main important nervous system which supplies your lung and the respiratory tract. Okay. Right. Next is going to be your mechanism of respiration. Okay. So mechanism of respiration. There are two phases of respiration. One is going to be, there are two phases. Please kindly have a note on it. There are two phases, not the two types of respiration. The type is different, phase is different. Okay, it has two phases of respiration. Phase 1 is going to be inspiration and phase 2 is going to be your expiration. Okay, the types of types of respiration we will see further. Okay, the phase 1 inspiration. These two, inspiration and expiration, will follows the law called as Boyle's law. Pressure is inversely proportional to the volume. Okay, if you're going to take what to say, a pipe. Okay, we take a hose pipe. It's a very good example. Hose pipe, which is very flexible. Okay, while watering your watering your garden. Okay, your plants, everything. Okay, at the time, what happens? The diameter will plays a major role, and the pressure and the diameter in sense is going to be a volume, and the pressure will be make a major. Okay, if in case you're going to have a very small hose pipe which is attached to a tap, and the plant which has to be watered in the long distance, the length of the pipe is not enough to watering that plant. At the time, what we will do, we used to close with the help of a thumb finger. We will be closing and reducing the diameter of the pipe as well as the volume of that particular pipe, which increases the pressure. Okay, so that means when the pressure increases, what happens to the volume is going to be decreases, and vice versa. When the pressure will decreases, when the volume is increases. That's what pressure is inversely proportional to 1 by volume. So volume increases, pressure decreases, and pressure increases, volume decreases. Now the same principle has been followed in the respiration system. Okay, right. So now we come to the inspiration process. Inspiration process is going to be an active process where it needs energy. That's the main thing. Inspiration was an active process where it needs an energy. For the inspiration and the expiration, the muscle, the two important muscle plays a major role. One is going to be our intercostal muscle, which is present in between the ribs. It's an intercostal muscle which is present in between the ribs, and the diaphragm, which I already told in the diagram. Diaphragm is a muscle layer which is going to separate your abdomen as well as thorax, which also plays a major role. How these two muscles helps in respiration, we will see that. Now what happened in the inspiration process? Intercostal muscle contracts. What happens if in case your intercostal muscle is going to contract? If the intercostal muscle is going to contract, it's going to increase your chest cavity. Okay, so the cavity present inside your chest, due to the contraction of your intercostal muscle, it's going to increase your volume in the chest cavity, and it's going to increase the size of the chest cavity. Okay, and what happened to the diaphragm? Your diaphragm is going to contract. Okay, your diaphragm is going to contract, and since your diaphragm also pushes down. So your diaphragm comes down or pushes down, and intercostal muscle is also going to contract. Due to that, your chest cavity is going to have large volume. Okay, can you able to imagine that? So, so your intercostal muscle is going to contract, your chest cavity is going to increase. Okay, due to that, already you are increased in the chest cavity, and your diaphragm will be moving downwards, will be moving full, and again it will increases the chest cavity. Due to this increase in the chest cavity, excuse me, due to increase in the chest cavity, there will be a created of negative pressure inside your chest cavity, whereas your pressure in the atmosphere is going to be a positive pressure, and here is going to be a negative pressure. Due to this, what happens? The air in the atmosphere will be entering into your nose fastly, and to equalize the pressure. To equalize the pressure, the air will be entering from the external atmosphere to your chest cavity. This entering of the air is done by creating a negative pressure inside the, or we can also call as low pressure area, high pressure area. Okay, the negative pressure which has been created inside chest cavity we call as low pressure, and the pressure here is going to be a high pressure. Due to this variation, the pressure variation, the gases will enter into the lung through your nasal cavity. Okay, so this is what about the inspiration process. Okay, the intercostal muscle contracts, diaphragm contracts, increase in the volume in the chest cavity, then decrease the pressure in the chest cavity. So air enter into the lungs. So pressure will be low and the volume will be high. Due to that, the air from the atmosphere will be entering into your lung. Next is expiration. The same process and and the same process, just opposite the inspiration. Whatever it is going to be a passive process, because when you give an energy to the active process, automatically it comes back to its original position, which is going to be a passive process. So in this expiration process, what happened? There will be a relaxation in your intercostal muscle. Okay, in relaxation in the intercostal muscle, as well as the relaxation of the diaphragm. So due to that, what happened? There will be a reduction in your chest volume. Okay, there are going to be a decrease in the volume in the chest cavity. Due to this decrease in the volume in the chest cavity, which will increases the pressure by Boyle's law, immediately the pressure which is created inside the chest cavity has to be moved out from the lungs to the atmosphere to equalize the pressure, where the pressure is less in the atmosphere. So here the gas which you have here is carbon dioxide. So this carbon dioxide will be moving out through the nasal cavity. Okay, so it is a passive process, and the intercostal muscle relaxes, diaphragm muscle relaxes, increase the pressure in the chest cavity, decrease the volume in the chest cavity, and the air is exhaled out from the lungs. Okay, this is the main mechanism of respiration, where it undergoes two phases. One is going to be inspiration and other one is going to be expiration. Okay. Now we see the types of respiration. Just a minute. Type of respiration. There are two types of respiration. So finally, I am repeatedly telling, because this is the place. This is where usually the biomedical students makes a mistake. They will get confused with the type of respiration as well as with the phase of respiration, mechanism of respiration. Okay, so type of respiration is entirely different between your inspiration and expiration. Okay, it's a phase. Type of respiration is also going to be two types. One is going to be external respiration and another is going to be your internal respiration. What we discussed till the mechanism of respiration comes under external respiration. Okay, so the process, so external respiration, that's why I didn't even detailed explanation for the external respiration. External respiration is nothing but the inhaling the air from the atmosphere to the lungs. Okay, and exhaling the air from the lungs to the atmosphere is going to be your external respiration. So while we inhaling the air, we're going to inhale the oxygen from the air, and this air will be this oxygen will be transmitted to the blood vessel, from the alveoli to blood vessel. Okay, so till that it's going to be your external respiration. So external respiration is nothing but the inhaling of air which enters into your alveoli, which enters into your nasal cavity, larynx, trachea, bronchi, bronchioles, okay, alveolar duct, then alveolar sac and alveoli, okay, and there the transport of oxygen from your alveoli to blood vessel. Then it is called till that it is called as it's called as external respiration. After external respiration. What happened? The oxygen from the alveoli has been transmitted or transported to the blood vessel. This blood vessel, which is called as the pulmonary vein, will carry the oxygenated blood to the heart through pulmonary vein, and from the heart the oxygen blood is going to pump through aorta to various parts of the body. Okay, and to various parts of the body. So it will reach each and every cell in the human body. So what happens in that cell? So the blood vessel and the cell is going to play a major role. Here the oxygenated blood vessel and the cell is going to have a contact between them, and there will be a transport of oxygen from the oxygenated blood to the cell for the process of releasing your energy. That's what I put in the first slide. That's the process of exchanging of gases from the deoxygenated blood to the cell. It is called as internal respiration. Okay, so this is what the difference between external respiration as well as internal respiration. Atya sir?
Yes sir, I'm there.
Yeah. I think I can continue this topic by tomorrow.
Yes sir, yes. As per the schedule only, we are posted types of respiration tomorrow only.
Yeah. That's what. Even the time also has been going to get big because within 5 minutes we can't able to explain it detailedly. So we can have it by tomorrow's session, and we can end this today's session. If anyone have any doubts, they might be asked now, or they will be posting in the Google Classroom, sir.
Yeah, still 8 minutes are there. If a participant, do you have any doubts, you can able to ask a course instructor now.
Yeah, you can unmute yourself, you can ask your questions. Or if they want to post the questions in the chat box also, Athena sir, you can tell the question also to me.
Yeah, sir.
Any questions, sir?
No, sir, not yet, sir. Okay, sir. They will gone through the recording, and then they have any doubt, they will post it in the classroom, sir.
Okay, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. We will meet tomorrow.
Okay, sir. Thank you all. We will have the session, continuation of the types of respiration tomorrow. Thank you.